We started the Hall of Fame in 2017. I actually went and pulled the chat transcript or the email thread that the NTC went through that year, and it was started by actually suggested by our CEO, is how do we recognize the best of the best amongst officials? And this is folks who have contributed to the sport, who we look at, and I think the way we decided the category should be decided is when we mention a name, everybody just nods their head and says, yeah, that's the person. So that's the criteria, as unscientific as it is. And today we're going to induct 3 more people into that. And unfortunately, we can't put the name up on the wall, but if you're ever in Colorado Springs, in the lobby of USA Cycling, we've actually got a wall, and we've got these folks who've wanted up there, and we're going to do something a little different this year. So with that said, we're going to start out. Andy McCord is going to introduce our first inductee. And Justin, if you don't mind spotlighting Andy. And Andy, I'll let you take it away.
Great, Chuck, thanks. It's my pleasure to introduce the first person that we're going to induct into the Hall of Fame today. He is a Colorado official, or basically has been a Colorado official, and he was an official as I was coming into the sport. And as such, he was one of my mentors, and especially the fact that he is probably, well, what I would call the father of mountain bike officials in the United States, and that is Dean Crandall. Dean is in 1990, there was a course that was held for people to become national commissaires, because we needed national commissaires for the Durango World Championships. And out of that, Dean he went on to become an international quickly after that. And I think he actually officiated or was the president. Well, Dean was on the panel in Durango. And then I think he was president in Bromont, which I think was the 3rd mountain bike world championships. But he is basically, to me, he's the father of mountain bike officiating. And I'm more than tickled and pleased to have Dean on the Hall of Fame.
And Dean's on. Dean, you mind saying a few words?
Pardon?
I said, you want to say a few words? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I certainly did. That's all right. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Haven't been around very often, so I really don't know what's going on today, except, what I read on the newspapers, which isn't very much about biking. But thank you very much. I'm honored. You need any stories?
Dean, this is Andy. I'd like to tell one little story about you, if I could. Actually, I became an international commissaire in, I think it said 1993, and it was in Sydney, Australia.
Yes.
And Dean was one of the instructors, along with Patrice Durin out of Canada. They were the 2 instructors for the course. And what I remember about that course was that when it came time to do the examinations, we had, as typical with the international courses, we had a written examination followed by an oral examination. Well, I'd gotten through the written examination pretty quickly, and then noticed in the back couple of pages were all the questions to the orals. Somehow, Dean, they ended up in that written test. So I knew all the oral questions before going into that oral exam. And I had already been able to figure out my answers to each one of those. I don't know if you remember that or not, but those happened to be there.
I remember that place that we stayed in downtown Sydney.
That was an interesting place. Turn right, you were in the red light district. Turn left, you were in the gay district. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. That's a good introduction to Australia.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dean, congratulations. You'll be receiving a plaque from us, the same one that goes up on the wall. And thanks so much for your years of officiating. If you can look in the chat, you'll see all the thank yous that are
Thank you
coming
very
from your
much.
fellow officials.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next. Justin, if you don't mind helping out with the spotlight here. For our next person, Scott Patton is going to step in and do the award here.
You guys hear me?
We got you, Scott.
Okay, good. So having never done a speech, I didn't know I was supposed to introduce him, but I can guess pretty much everybody on the phone or on the call right now understands why I'm speaking. The next inductee to the Hall of Fame will be Jim Patton, who I will unapologetically call Dad throughout this entire thing. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm very proud of my father, and only 2 people get to call him Dad, so we're going to run with that. When Chuck called me and asked me if I would do this, I didn't know what to say. Wow. I mean, how do you do this? What do I say? How can I say no? Well, I couldn't, so here we are. Then the challenge became, how do I encapsulate an officiating career that is longer than my own personal career? Over 60% of my life. I thought about giving a history, but I was only told I only had about 10 minutes. I thought about listing all of his major accomplishments, but again, I only have 10 minutes. I thought a lot about this over the days, and about a week and a half, I've been having this run through my head. And as it got closer and closer, I had a rare moment of clarity where I realized that people probably don't walk up to Chuck or anybody else and say, you know what Jim Patton taught me? But at the same time, people say that to me at every single bike race I go to. They come up to me and they tell me, I remember when I worked this race with your dad, he taught me, insert your great lesson about officiating here. Or your dad told me one time another great story or life lesson about officiating. At one of my first major races, a moto came up to me, overly excited to tell me this. He says, man, when I first was starting out, your dad came up to me and he told me one thing that stuck with me for every single race that I've worked since. He said, if you're ever surprised on a motorcycle or something catches you off guard, it's 100% your fault. That secondhand knowledge that my dad uttered to somebody years ago stuck in my head, and I still use at every single race. It's little stories like these are the gems, the officiating life lessons, the things. Sorry, guys. I thought if I talked fast, I could get through it easier. The things that Dad instilled in other great officials from coast to coast. Now, to be honest, not all the stories are really gems, but as long as I don't focus on the Kirk Leidy stories too much, I can learn an awful lot from all of this. A lot of these stories are long and detailed. Some are just one-liners, but they all come back with the utmost of respect. I can learn a lot, but I can also see how Dad has helped shape the officiating community locally, regionally, and nationally. I often kid that I'm the one guy that gets to say, yeah, my dad did write the book on moto officiating. And while it is true, this is one of the many things Dad has done over the years. Like many of those here today, Jim dove into bike racing headfirst and is still in the pool. The journey continues. Having been a bike racer, a coach, a team founder, a director, a promoter, an official, a moto, a marshal, a communications director, a member of the USA Cycling Board of Directors, and most recently, upgrading his non-motorized bicycle to enhance his Zwifting career, he just doesn't stop doing things related to 2 wheels. Jim started as a racer, and I think I was his first recruit. He then became a team director and brought a whole bunch of midshipmen at the Naval Academy into the sport, constantly recruiting new riders. Some of these riders are still racing today and still talk about the training rides Dad took him on. The next step, to fill a void in Maryland and become an official. See a gap in officiating, buy a motorcycle and learn how to fill that gap. Realizing he would have to work all the races, unless he recruited and trained some more officials. Trained some more officials. He worked on doing just that and working all the races at the same time, of course. Need training materials? He developed training materials and programs for his new recruits. Wait, there's no manual for moto officiating? Let's write one. So he grabbed some of his best friends who are also working all the races with him, and they wrote the manual that's still used today. The progression and steps taken along the way are still talked about to this day. The tools continue to stand the test of time. The impact of Dad's efforts have been massive. These steps weren't always easy. I recall many nights of frustration, because we probably all have worked races understaffed, poorly organized, or in conditions that are far from ideal. But to this day, Jim has not quit trying to help cyclists, bike racing, and officials. Just about anything related to two wheels. That is why we're here today, to recognize the efforts Jim has put forward. I literally have in my notes. Stick with me, folks. I'm going to try real hard not to lose it. What I'm about to say is perhaps the greatest honor of my life. Today I get to be the first person to welcome Jim Patton, Mr. Happy, Dad, into the USA Cycling Officiating Hall of Fame. Dad, you've done so much for the sport and the officiating community. One 10-minute speech cannot possibly recognize it all. It is in the little gems that I hear the quality officiating that exists across this country that we know the mark you have left on the sport. It is with my deepest admiration, every bit of respect that I have, that I could say I could not be more proud to welcome you to this Hall of Fame. No race I ever work will mean as much to me as this. Welcoming you to this elite group of officials. You've earned this. Thank you for everything you have done for the sport. We all love so much. You've made this sport a better place than when we arrived way back in Shrewsbury. With you as a role model and a mentor, I hope to do the same. Thank you. Chuck, talk, please.
Well, we did this so that we could see Jim cry as well. So we're gonna, Jim, we're spotlighting you and we want some words, man.
Thanks, Scott. You got me going.
I promised Chuck that would happen.
Well, you were right. This is unbelievable. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Scott. We appreciate it. All right, we'll roll into our last presentation here of the day. And Justin, if you don't mind helping me put Noreen up. Noreen's going to do our third award. Noreen, I'll let you take over.
Okay. Justin, are you going to pin me? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I have to find you.
I've got it, Justin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there you go. This is really special for me. As you all know, I really identify as a track official, although I certainly have done other things besides that, but not much. And I remember very early in my track career working with this person in a way that really shaped my future international career, as well as, again, paved the way for me as an international commissaire, excuse me, as a woman. So today we are honoring Paula Grill as a new inductee into the Hall of Fame. Paula has so many fans, and there is so many comments here from people who had wanted to add their voice to this nomination. Her officiating career started in the 1960s, in days when one was often the only official at an event or one of two. And in those days before computers and associated software, Paula innovated many of the manual systems to tabulate stage race results, and as well as produce time trial order of finishes instantly. The one that's nearest and dearest to my heart is the fact that she established the race secretary, track secretary position here in the United States. And I'm not altogether sure that that didn't impact the establishment of that on an international level. I remember one year I was working as a judge at one of the national championships, the chief judge, and Paula was the secretary with the express purpose of teaching me to be the secretary so that I could do it next year. And the following year after that, we switched positions. So Paula was the chief judge and I was the secretary. And for most of my UCI career, I was assigned as the secretary, and I absolutely learned from the best. There was no question about that. Joe Sailing knew Paula and her husband from their college days. He says that Paula always was a cool and level-headed official who treated others with respect. He recalled one international level track event where Paula was the chief judge. There was an error in results concerning 2 Olympic level athletes, and she approached both of them, apologized, and corrected the error. And that candor and humility impressed Joe, who calls Paula the finest official he has ever worked with. Kirk Leighty, who is a motor referee and an organizer of the Tour of Tuna, praises Paula, who had been a chief official at this event for 20 years. She not only helped teach Kirk on how to conduct a multi-day stage race, but how to organize the officials who she had mentored as well. Cindy Donnelly said Paula taught officials how to do things the right way. She taught everyone that everyone needs to be part of a team, and you want to make the team the best you can be. Deb Schiff said, Paula is my mentor, my colleague, my friend, and one of the most humble and the most experienced officials I have ever met. After becoming an international commissaire, she never stopped giving back on the local level, from early morning office parking lots, crits, to the tour of Somerville. She has never hesitated to just be a part of the new official seminar and let someone else be the teacher. She has never flaunted her experience at others, but rather sharing her experience with all. And she always has a smile. There's many more comments here, but as to quote Scott, I only have 10 minutes. And again, this is personal for me because not only the role that Paula played in my development on the track, but also the fact that she and Beth Estes were 2 pioneering women as international commissaires. And literally they paved the way for people like me to be accepted and be able to fulfill the assignments that I have today. So I have the distinct honor of welcoming Paula to the Officiating Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Noreen. And Paula, we've got you unmuted if you want to say a few words.
Wow, I'm speechless. This was not something that I expected. I'm thrilled. I just don't even know what to say. Noreen, thank you so much for all those kind words. We had some good times in a lot of different places, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a help to you and that race secretary position. And it's comical because from that particular meet where I was training you, do you know that I have never, ever been race secretary again? And I'm just so proud of what you've accomplished in the sport. So again, thank you all very much for your kind words, all those wonderful comments from all those wonderful people. And it's a great sport and I'm proud to be a part of it. I come from a cycling family with my husband, and I've learned so much from him, and I'm just so thrilled. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Paula. Thanks for making it on. All right. Well, as I want to thank everybody, and as I told you starting this, when we give these away, we know we've done it right when everybody looks and says, uh-huh. So I think we got that. So thanks to all three. We're going to put in chat, Justin, if you want to do it, we're going to drop a link in there. Unfortunately, with the office closed right now, we don't have you up on the wall yet. That will be going. But we've created a web page and have added the three of you to the other officials. So everybody can take a look at that. It's up and active right now. And Monday, we'll be sending some information out for you all. And we're going to have some other announcements tomorrow morning. So please take a look at that. And these are people who made a huge difference in our sport. So thanks again, everybody, for being on, and congratulations. Now, with that, we're going to close out day one, and I think everybody hopefully had a good time. We're going to start tomorrow at 9 a.m. with some more awards, and look forward to having everybody on then. Again, please, if you have any questions for our Q&A tomorrow, send those to the officials at usacycling.org, or jump on tomorrow and answer those or ask those questions at that point. We'll do our best to answer. I've got a cool day tomorrow with some good speakers, and thanks for being on today. It's been a good time, and look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Thanks.